Pleasure to welcome my next guest to the Lax Goalie Rap podcast. I'm talking with the starting goalie, Duke University, Sophia LeRose. Sophia, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Damon. I'm really excited to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. This is going to be tons of fun. Going back to when you were a little Sophia in San Diego, do you remember the first time you jumped into goal?
I did. I was in 6th grade, and our goalie actually she showed up late to the game, and so we needed someone to step into cage. And so I took on, I just jumped in. I remember exactly. I was at Rancho Bernardo High School, and I was getting hit with balls, and I was like, this is kind of fun. I have a twin brother, so for me, like, getting hit by balls did not scare me. I was playing on guys' teams growing up all the time, and it was definitely a change of pace because I grew up playing soccer and other sports where I'm running around all the time. So to be like confided to a goal was different for me, but it was a really, I don't know, for me, I was like, I want to try something new. And then from that game on, I stuck it out and I played goalie all through high school. And now I'm here at Duke playing goalie.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. What you said, like, I didn't mind getting hit by shots. I mean, that's a very rare breed, right, for lacrosse goalies. I think most lacrosse goalies, myself included, when we first start out, like when you get hit by a shot, it's like, oh man, that stinks. What was it for you that you didn't mind so much?
I honestly think it was because I grew up with two brothers where we would fight all the time. And so in terms of getting hit by a ball, it wasn't honestly that painful. There's definitely some now, like I have to step out of the cage. If I get some like pretty good shots, then I have to take a couple reps off. I'm so used to it by now. At this age, no, I don't really love getting hit by balls, but I'm so used to it. I love
Right.
other aspects of goalie. I wouldn't say I love getting hit by balls. I just don't mind it, where I know that that's kind of what shies people away from goalie is like, I don't want to stand in the cage and get hit by balls. Like that never intimidated me. I more was like, I want to help try and lead the defense and, be the backbone of the team and be able to see the entire field. And that's kind of what attracted me to play goalie. And I think too, kind of being a visionary, I was like, I knew I wanted to play a college sport. My mom played tennis at Alabama. My dad played basketball in college. So I knew I wanted to play a college sport. And for goalie at the time, I was like, you know what? I'm from the West Coast. I want to use my athleticism. And so for me, I was able to use my athleticism to also help me be successful in goalie as well.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
So you mentioned, kind of playing soccer growing up. I think I also read you played field hockey. Were pretty good at field hockey, and then lacrosse. What ultimately made you pursue lacrosse for that goal of wanting to play collegiate sports?
Yeah, I think that was honestly a pretty tough decision for me because, like I said, I love to run. And, when you're in cage, you're not running around that much and you're not out on the field, you're in the net. So it was a really hard decision for me to make to go down the lacrosse route. I personally knew, again, with my athleticism, I would have a way better chance of going to a stronger academic as well as stronger athletic school than I would have for field hockey and soccer. Field hockey, I loved field hockey. I was forward in field hockey, but unfortunately I picked up field hockey the year I committed to school for lacrosse. So that was nothing I even considered, but I did consider soccer. And honestly, in San Diego and California, like, we breed soccer players. And so I knew I would be just a little fish in a big pond. Whereas with lacrosse, I would be a big fish in a small pond when it came to goalies. And trying to get to the East Coast, I knew I'd have an easier time.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people think like they have the opposite mentality where like I'm from a non-hotbed of lacrosse, like, poor me. How do I get the looks? How do I get these guys' attention? And your idea was, look, I'm from San Diego, which by the way is growing in lacrosse. It's pretty big now. You can touch on that. But your mentality was more like, listen, not that many people have heard of San Diego lacrosse players. I can kind of stick out. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right.
Yeah. Talk a little bit about San Diego lacrosse, if you could.
Yeah, so I think San Diego lacrosse, again, it's definitely getting more popular, like you said, but it's, especially when I was getting recruited and it's great to see how it's evolved. It is still not to the caliber of the East Coast. I think the pace of the game isn't as fast. I think that talent isn't as strong on the West Coast. And I also think just people being competitive and their willingness to show up and get better every single day. I noticed that people in San Diego didn't have the same determination as people on the East Coast. And I think a big reason for that is because, and it's different. I would say it's different now than when I was getting recruited, but I think West Coast soccer players, I think East Coast lacrosse players. Like if you really think about it, like just from my perspective, like I started soccer when I was 4 years old. I have friends on the East Coast that started lacrosse at 4 years old. So it's like very different in that aspect. And, I think for me, I think having, playing lacrosse in San Diego and growing up there, I played with a lot of girls that honestly didn't know how to play much lacrosse, which really helped my game out because no offense to my teammates that were in high school and middle school, but like I didn't have much defense in front of me like I do now at Duke. So I think having, not the strongest defense in middle school and high school when I was like growing as a player really helped me like where I am now in college, if that makes sense.
It makes total sense. It
Mhm.
makes total sense on all levels because I'm also a
Mhm.
California guy and I
Yep.
started playing soccer at 4 years old,
Yep.
and didn't start playing lacrosse till I got to Cal. So there you go. And then the other comment you were making is, yeah, like, a lot of times as goalies, a lot of the best goalies in college and even in the pros come from teams that are not necessarily the best defensively because you see all of those shots and like you
Exactly.
see a lot of high caliber in close shots that you need to save or your team's going to lose, and so you end up upping your game as a
Exactly.
result of that. Yeah.
Yeah. So when I showed
Um,
up to Duke, I'm like, defense. I was like, oh, wow, this is
yeah.
new. Love
What?
this.
Defense?
I'm like, where'd these people come from? Yeah.
Oh, you mean I don't have to take shots right on the crease the entire
I
all
know. It's
game long? This is
crazy how
this
the
is
concept
amazing.
lacrosse works.
Yeah. How did you go about, when you first started, how did you go about learning how to make saves? Did your brothers teach you? Did you take some lessons, some camps? How'd you go about learning the position?
Honestly, I winged it all through middle school and high school. I didn't have a goalie coach. I didn't know what I was doing. My coach told me, make the save. Do whatever you have to do to make the save. And that's what I did. That's what I was coached. I never, I remember I took one goalie lesson in 6th or 7th grade when I was first starting out. And they were trying to teach me technical stuff. And I was like, look, I don't even know if I want to play goalie long term. So let's just like ride with it and let me just jump in the cage. So I think my thing that I just was repetition, just getting shots in practice and stuff helped me out. And it wasn't until I got to Duke when I was like, wow, there's a lot to learn about goalie because I was more, again, I wasn't by the books of a goalie. I just kind of did my own thing. I didn't really know about like angles or anything because no one taught me that. And so when I came to Duke, it was a good wake up call. Like, all right, I really need to get these fundamentals down with goalie of like being on my angle, knowing my house, knowing how to push my hands out. Like it was kind of like I had to relearn a lot of things over again. So it
Wow.
wasn't, it was a long transition. I finally like, I'm in the zone and I got it, but it was definitely a weird transition going from, being able to just kind of be free and do whatever I needed to do to save the ball and then
Hmm.
being the complete opposite of like, all right, hey, no, there's actually like things you have to do as goalie and think about. And I'm like, oh, before I never thought I would just play. So
Yeah. Did you find that your game actually went down a little bit as you started, like before it got better? Like kind of
yes.
taking this path of like, you're here, just kind of relying on your natural athleticism. And
Hmm.
then like you start like thinking about all of these things and learn, and your game kind of goes down because you're too inside your head. And then you learn them, right? And then they become a little bit more natural. And then you end up like here. Does that sound
Uh,
familiar?
yeah, I think, yeah, you completely hit the nail on the head there. For me, I had to break a lot of habits that my coaches wanted me to break. So I think that's where I went down because I was going back to my habits and I was like, I couldn't be. So I had to get comfortable in this new way of playing that wasn't how I used to play. So it did take a lot of time. And I, I was definitely frustrated freshman year with myself and my own play because I'm like, I know how to make these saves. Why am I not making these saves right now? And I had to really sit back and think like, all right, they're trying to, you know, nail these different fundamentals into you for like long term to be a really good goalie. You have to trust the process. And I think that's ultimately how I got through the transition, was like, just trust the process. You're going to have downs. And I was down. Like, I didn't play at all freshman year. And I honestly thought I was going to come in and start freshman year. And so freshman year was a transition, and I just kept working really hard. And it's great to see how my results have been able to like pay off. And I'm continuing to now, like, I don't think as much as I did freshman year, because now it's all muscle memory of what they taught me. Just like it kind of was in high school. I just play. Last season, I kind of just played.
Yeah.
So it was great because I was just comfortable with, all right, now I'm comfortable playing how they want me to play. So now we just play.
Yep. Yeah, I've seen that pattern in a lot of goalies. That's why I asked.
Yeah.
It's pretty common. Like, you start out, you're just relying on your pure athleticism to make saves. And it sounded like you did that all through high school. Interesting. Yeah. And then, yeah, like you said, just becomes muscle memory to where now I'm not thinking about it, but I am in the right position, or I'm not thinking about it, but now I am driving my
Exactly.
hands to the ball and making the right save movement. So
Yeah.
love it. How do you, how would you describe your style of goalie play?
I think I'm very calm and collective in the cage. I think, especially I've found myself in some holes in season, some that I put myself into, and through these holes I've stayed composed. I think so. I think I play like very composed. I also think if you were to look at me from like an outside perspective and not know and just see like a half of mine, I am a pretty fast goalie. I'm more reaction, and I'm not crazy jumping out of the cage, but I do, if there's a ground ball and I can get it, I'll run out and get it and try and toss it off. I think I'm always just kind of thinking of that next play, like what the next play is going to be. So if I make that save, who am I going to pass it to next? Obviously, I have to focus on making the save first, but I always think I have that next play mentality. One, like, all right, what am I going to do with the ball once I have it? But also the opposite side, if a goal goes in, all right, next play mentality, that plays in the past. Now move forward, you have to focus on the next play. But overall, yeah, I would say composure and athletic would be the main two. And I also have a big voice. Sometimes you can hear me through TV. I'm leading my defense and, talking with them the entire time when we're on defense. And honestly, when it's on attack too, I'm still yelling.
I love
So,
that.
yeah.
I love that. Yeah, I love good communication in goal. Were you
Oh,
always
yeah.
that way? Is that kind of your personality, or is
Yeah,
being?
I would say so. I think like, especially, I would say at Duke, when you're a freshman and all that, it is definitely like a little intimidating coming into such a top school. And I didn't know where I stood on the team. So trying to lead 3 like 4-year starter seniors on defense, that's intimidating as a freshman, because I'm like, they know more than me and I don't want to overstep. Now being an upperclassman, it's crazy. I'll be a senior this year. I say whatever, and it's completely, whatever happens. But I always think I'm very vocal when I need to be.
Yeah,
So not
love
all
it.
the time, just when I need to be.
Love it. So, you've got this, going back to your high school, you got this goal to play, Division I sports, Division I lacrosse. You start having some success, Torrey Pines, right? I think you went to Torrey Pines. Yeah.
Yep.
Start having some success. How did your recruiting process go? Were you looking at a bunch of different schools, and what was it about Duke that you ultimately loved so much?
Yeah. So I guess to give you the backstory of Duke first, I broke my collarbone in 4th grade. And I've had plenty of shoulder issues now, but I broke my collarbone in 4th grade, and my uncle gave me a Duke blanket that's actually on my bed right behind me right now. And he's like, I want to give you this Duke blanket. I think you're going to go to Duke. Super random, because no one in my family ever went to Duke. And I was like, I don't know anything about Duke. And I remember my 4th grade teacher, we had this like March Madness because she was really into basketball. And my team was, I think it was Butler, and we were playing against Duke in the championship game, my 4th grade, and Duke won and the NCAA tournament. And I was like, all right, this seems like a cool school. Like my uncle says it's cool. They just won basketball championship. I want to go to Duke. And then I got to, and so from 4th grade to 6th grade, I was so hooked on Duke, Duke, Duke. And then when I hit middle school, I was like, Duke just dropped off my radar. I was like, I don't know anything about this school. I don't know where it is. I was young, so I don't really care. And so then I started entertaining conversations with coaches actually pretty early. Obviously, the rule has changed now. I'm aware. I think it's like junior year, right, of September. But started entertaining conversations with schools at the end of my 8th grade. So Stanford was the first school I talked to, and then from there, a lot of offers started to pile up in my freshman year. And my parents, thankfully, had parents that were like, you need to wait a year before you commit anywhere, because I was ready to commit to a school. And I was really excited, especially, again, I didn't expect to come to a great school like Duke, especially being from San Diego. Like, being in California, it is hard to get recruited and move to the East Coast. And so my freshman year, my freshman summer, I traveled for 35 days straight, going from summer camp, summer tournament, college camp, and just repeating. And I was by myself a majority of the summer. My parents would just meet me in certain states and whatnot. And I was trying to just sell myself, play the best I could, emailing coaches. I would be at one camp, like a school camp, talking to another college coach on the phone. So I was really just trying to network and do everything I could to get recruited. Duke, I met with them my freshman year, spring break, just entertain a brief conversation. They've never heard of me before. And, for me, I didn't think Duke was possible. And then I lit it up at camp that summer and got offered right at camp. And I was like, all right, I'm ready. I'm ready to commit now. And my parents are like, nope, you need to slow down. You have 2 more weeks of recruiting that you committed to, going to other visits and whatnot. So I waited 2 weeks, and then I was more than ecstatic to commit to Duke. I think once I first stepped on campus, sometimes people get that feeling. I knew right away. I was like, I want to go here. I don't care if the coaches don't want me. I want to come to this school, and I'll do whatever it takes to try and get here. So I'm beyond fortunate that Kirsten took a chance on me and brought me onto her team, because it's been an amazing 3 years so far.
Love it. I think that was pretty smart on your parents' behalf. With
Yeah.
the new rule, that parents won't need to make that decision now. Like, you've got to wait until your junior year. But yeah, I mean, why not like wait and just be patient? Because especially at that young age, like, you could see a school and just be like, colleges are pretty nice. Like, let's be honest. Like, you get there and you get on some campuses and you're just like, this is amazing. I'm just so infatuated with it, but like, let's hold off. Let's see what's out there for us, and then make a decision. So I think that was pretty smart on your parents' behalf.
Oh yeah, I think the rule is the best thing, because I've seen many people, including my twin brother, commit too early, and then they realize, you know what, this is actually not what I want to do, and then they decommit.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think this rule has really helped, people make a more mature decision and like be confident in their decision of where they want to go. So I think it's great they have this rule.
Yeah. I want to go back to that 35 days straight of like camps, recruiting. At any point in there, did you ever feel burnt out, or, how did you I mean, 35 days that's a tough stretch. How'd you handle that?
I think I was definitely burnt out. Within 2 weeks I was tired, because honestly, within a couple of days I was tired, because these college camps, you're going to play lacrosse, you're playing 10 hours a day. And, traveling, and, I was lonely a lot of the time, staying in hotels by myself, flying to different places by myself. That part didn't worry me. I'm very well traveled. My we grew up traveling all over the place. So like, that was not a concern for my parents, sending me off. But I think what just kept me going was like, what you do have, I saw my work paying off as like more offers were coming in and stronger offers were coming in. And I was like, this is worth it. Like, this is all going to be worth it, because at the end of the summer, hopefully I'll be able to make a really good, confident decision that's going to set up my future. So it's worth these next 35 days to set up the next 4 years of wherever I decide to go to college. And I think that's the mindset I had. I also think for me with lacrosse, I never looked at it as, I have to go play, or I have to go do this. It's no, I get to go visit Duke and meet with these coaches. I get to go play at this camp and do this. I get to go to this tournament and play with my friends. So having like just switching that mentality a little bit also made it so much better and enjoyable, because I was trying to meet as many people as I could, enjoy myself with people, and just try and make the process enjoyable, knowing that again at the end it would pay off.
Smart. Yeah, very smart. I mean, that's a huge mental game lesson right there. It's like you've got to understand like why you're doing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
You got to have this real strong motivating force that allows you to do what you do, because you know when you're on day 32 of a day 35 stretch and you get hit in the thigh, like you don't want to be there. Like, but if you've
exactly.
got this underlying reason why, which you had, then like all of a sudden everything makes sense. So I love that.
Exactly. And I would say I think I got my most bruises. Like it looked like my bruises, because they would just keep piling up. So my legs after those 35 days were probably the worst my legs have ever been. But hey, again, worth it.
Yeah.
Worth it again.
Yeah. Right. So you mentioned breaking your collarbone at a young age. Before we hit record, you said you just had kind of two surgeries on your shoulders. How do you
Yep.
approach, coming back from an injury? Because for lacrosse goalies, it's not only getting like your physical body back
Mhm.
and like, getting healthy physical
Yeah.
wise. A lot of it is up here, is the mental game. It's like, oh, I'm hurt. And now like all of a sudden your mental game takes a hit. So I'm curious how you recover from injuries.
Yeah, I think I've always one that's kind of tend to have injuries. Unfortunately, like at one time or another, I've never like honestly gone a year with being healthy. And it's like little things, but I think, for this past year, for example, like I knew with my left shoulder, so I got double shoulder surgery, and this was something we kept quiet like from other teams and everything throughout season, because I played all season on my shoulders, and I knew I was getting shoulder surgery on my left one in September of last year, and I was going to wait till the end of summer,
Mm-hmm.
or wait till the end of season to do it. So I think one, that like pre-planning, like, okay, I know I have this surgery coming. When I met with the doctor in May, the surgeon at the end of the season to check, and they were like, you know what, we're actually going to do double shoulder surgery because you need it. Um, I think for me, I was like, okay, well, if I don't bang these both out now, I'm going to have problems for a long time. And my mental health and everything, I think 90% of goalie's game is all mental. For right now, being able to just focus all my time and energy into my rehab, and making sure that I am doing everything that I can to stay on track to be back a couple weeks. Like I'll be back a month before season starts, hopefully. Um, that's what I'm hanging on to, is like I have to be diligent now and commit to rehab. I rehab at least 2 hours a day, every single day. And, right now, especially in the fresh of it, like I'm icing nonstop as well. And it's even as little as like I'm eating an anti-inflammatory diet. Like I'm just trying to find anything to just make my recovery as easy as possible. Um, Knowing that, by January, I'm going to work my tail off to get a starting position back, and, hopefully hopefully help my team out again for next year. So injuries have never really deterred me from like keep going. I think, I've had a couple concussions, and those are a lot more mental, I think, than other injuries, just because it's your head. But I think no matter what, I just hold on to like, you played a sport for a reason, and whatever the process to get back is, you're going to have to follow that process, and then you'll be back when you're back. There's only so much you can control.
Love it. It's
Mhm.
mindset of a champion right there. Way to go. I hope
Proud of me.
hope the young
Thanks.
goalies are taking notes. Yeah, I love it. So you get to Duke.
Mhm.
You're a West Coast person. I'm a West Coast person. Like you end up playing lacrosse with a lot of East Coast girls, and let's be honest. Like there's a different vibe between like a West Coast person and an East Coast person.
Very
Um,
different.
yeah, I mean, I'm curious, like, how did that ever, like, did you ever have any stories where you're just like, oh, that's Sophia, she's from California? Um,
I everyone's like, oh, she's from Cali. She's from Cali. And like, it's all my teammates. And I'm like, guys, anyone that's from California will never say, oh, we're from Cali, like whatever. So like that's one triggering thing. And I think for me, in just like any West Coaster, we're just a lot more chill than the East Coast. And I don't think the East Coast people think we are. Like I think they think they're chill. And I'm like, you're just not. Um, so I think it was Duke's kind of, I guess it's considered in the South. It's top of the South.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I noticed very quickly that mannerisms here had to be different than at home back in San Diego. I say yes, sir. I say yes, ma'am.
Oh
Things like
yeah.
that. I
Yeah.
thought I'd noticed really quickly people are a lot nicer here as well. I remember asking Uber driver, hey, how's your day going? Sophia, thank you so much for asking. I can't complain. And then go down this whole long thing. Whereas at home, they just be like, good, how are you? Like it's very casual. So I think my mannerisms definitely changed. But I also think, for me, I'm used to working with all different types of people. So like coming into a team where I was the one of only two West Coast girls, there's another actually, Catriona Berry. She's a fifth year on the team this year. Actually, one of my roommates studying downstairs. She's from the Bay Area in California. So we're the only two California girls. Everyone else is completely on the East Coast. It just didn't really intimidate me because again, working with so many different types of people, I knew like I could try and vibe with many different types of people. And that's something I've grown. I have very different friends on the team. I have a lot of different groups of people on the team that I go to for certain things because I do, I'm able to connect with people in many different ways. So it definitely wasn't like a hard transition, but I did notice things very quickly.
I love it. I love it.
Yep.
Southern hospitality, right?
Yep. You know.
That's awesome. When you said I have different girls on the team that I go to
Mhm.
for different things, talk to me
Yeah.
a little bit more about that. What does that mean? What are some examples?
Yeah. I think the coaching staff, especially Kirsten, they do a great job staffing, or sorry, they do a great job like putting girls on our team that come from really good families that are just really good girls and they want to make sure that everyone on the team is going to get along. Like I don't know I've heard about some other team cultures and, just some of my friends that play on different teams. And then I look at my team culture and I was like, wow, we must have like top of the charts team culture. I think, because Kirsten recruits girls from all different backgrounds, we have a pretty diverse team. And with that, I have girls on the team. Like I know, all right, I want to go to you because or I have girls on team, they're my library girls. I go, after practice, we'll go to the library, we'll study together. There's other girls on team. I'm like, hey, let's go to a lake and post up and lay out. Other girls, hey, you want to go on a kayaking trip and like go hiking? Like I have so many different friends on the team where like I can find anything I can do with any of them. And it kind of connects back to like what I like to do at home, which is really, really nice. So not everyone's like the same on the team. And I think that really helps on the field and off the field because everyone brings something to the team on and off the field, which is great.
That is great.
Mhm.
Awesome. Yeah. Love it. Who are some of the goalies, when you're kind of growing up or even now, like who are some of the goalies you kind of looked up to, either on the men's or women's side?
Yeah, I think honestly growing up because I was playing all these different sports, I wasn't like a lacrosse rat, you would
Hmm.
call it. Like I wasn't following lacrosse. I didn't follow goalies crazy. And even now I really don't. I like to follow teams. I think, names like Devin Wills and Kaylee Waters. I remember Kaylee Waters when I went to UNC camp and she was a star and I was like, I want to be her when I'm older.
Yeah.
I would say she's the first person that comes to mind. Um, so, but other than that, again, I don't really follow goalies often or like look up to a crazy amount, but I would say Devin Wills and Kaylee Waters were the two names that have always been like, I want to be like them when I'm older.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, now you are a lax goalie rat. You you're on the show. You're on the show. You're
I know.
all right.
Seriously, you're exposing me. Now I am.
All right. So you get to Duke, and it's really the first time that you've ever had any sort of coaching, any sort of goalie
Mhm.
coaching, and what exactly did you learn? And how did it go for you receiving that, first taste of real live coaching?
Yeah, no, I think I took it as like a really exciting thing being like, wow, a coach is like fully focused on me. Cause usually it's in high school, you have your head coach and your assistant coach, and they kind of just dump the goalies to the side. So one, I thought it was super exciting. I think some of the core principles I learned, that, I think the main principles for goalie that we stress on our team is you got to be on your angles. You got to know where you are in the cage. And I think for me, when I was first starting out, because I was getting coached to learn these different angles and to learn a different arc, I didn't really know where I was in the cage. So I was banging the pipes a lot. And
Mhm.
that's, now I look at myself now, I'm like, I don't even touch my pipes. I don't need to look back to see where I am. Like, I know exactly where I am in the cage at all times. So I think angles was a big principle of ours that they stressed, to us goalies. The second one is know what you're giving up. If it's a first hash 8 meter and you're a little bit off your pipe, like, all right, 5 hole is open and a little bit up top. That's pretty much about it. Other than that, you got it. So if it's going low, you got to get down. So I think that was the second thing, was just always thinking like, all right, what are you giving up for this angle? Like what does the shooter have? And for me, I think what's helped me a ton be able to understand the principles that they nailed into me freshman years. I continued to play field. I played goalie, but I also took the draw and I played midfield and, you know, attack all through high school as well. Yes, I was getting recruited for goalie, but like I was still playing on the field. And like in club, when we were going to Capital Cup in Virginia, play one half of goalie, one half of field, just because again, I was athletic. And I think that really also helped. Just like I have a very strong IQ. So being able to understand, like, okay, I understand from a shooter's perspective what they're looking at and what they want to see as a goalie. And then as a goalie, being able to be like, all right, this is what I'm giving up and this is where I need a step. Um, and then I want to say the third thing, sorry, I'm kind of all over the place. Stepping to that ball on an appropriate angle and seeing what works. I think every goal is different and things are going to work differently. There's one goal on my team that steps at a 45-degree angle. I step more at like a 30, 25-degree angle. So it really just depends on the goalie. And I think for me at first, I didn't understand that. I was like, oh, we all have to play kind of the similar way. So it's been nice to have that flexibility and kind of do my own thing, especially this year.
Love it. It's a great answer.
Mhm.
Great answer. Yeah, and I totally agree with you. When I first started out coaching, I was like, this is the way. Like, this is how you have to play lacrosse goalie. And then I started talking to all these different goalies and like just really studying the position. And everyone's like, this is how I do it. And they're having success. So I was like, well, if they're doing it this way, like maybe there is more than one way to play this position. And that's like a 100%, like 100% of a thought of mine, or like a
Yeah.
theory of mine, or I don't know what the word is, but
No, yeah,
you get
totally.
the idea. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. So when you guys goalie train, what is it for you guys? Is it a lot of, like quickness drills, explosion drills, hand-eye drills? Are you taking a lot of live shots? What does your training regiment look like at Duke?
Yeah. So, it kind of honestly depends on the day. I would say, our coaches are great with like focusing on us, throughout the entire weeks of practice. So, we'll each start out doing our own little warm up, whatever we need, whether it's getting shot on by the coaches, jump roping, doing hand-eye coordination. There's 5 of us goalies this year. There's a freshman coming in, and we have the most unique goalie culture, I would say, out of any team I've ever heard of, where, I'm best friends with the 5th year goalie. And it's tough being best friends with another goalie, but, because that we have this thing called goalie world. And so every single day we'll have drills in goalie world. And that could be my goalie coach. She's either, hitting a tennis rack of tennis balls at us and we're hand-eye reacting to it, or we're stepping with our stick. For me, I last year, even though it's quick, I wanted to get quicker. Like I was trying to figure out ways to improve that. So, for me, I put a bungee on my stick and I put a weighted stick, and I was all just exploding with my hands and trying to get my hands stronger. The same thing for my feet. I put bungees on my feet, just trying to get my step faster. Um, And then, so we'll do all those like more technical goalie stuff at the beginning. And then, middle practice, a couple times a week, we have what it's called goalie shooting. So, especially when we're in season, depending on the personas of the attackers that we're going to be seeing, in the next game, let's say there are a lot of alley shots, then we'll do a goalie shooting drill that's all designated around alley shooting. If they're more inside shooters or their team, like, let's say the team we're about to play, they typically have, they're feeding a ton in the middle and doing that, then we'll have goalie shooting that is designated to focus on that, if that makes sense. And then we're just in like the regular drills, 4v3, 5v4, going up to sevens, clearing that whole ordeal. But I think what's great about, again, just here is they really do focus on us and make sure we're, strengthening our skills, just like the attackers and the midfielders and defenders, which I didn't have in middle school and high school. Again, it was kind of like we just got pushed off to the side, got warmed up, and would just get thrown in. So it's been great to be coached now. And again, at the beginning it was a little overwhelming because I was like, whoa, where's this coaching coming from? Like, I just thought I would show up and play, but it's worked out great.
Yeah. So your freshman year, and that's great, by the way. I mean, that training sounds awesome. So much good stuff in there. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah. Your freshman year, you're a backup, right? I'm curious, with your role as a backup, what's your mindset? How do you go about continuing to get better while, not getting the starts or maybe not even getting the reps with the first team in practice?
Yeah. So freshman year, I didn't get many reps. I think you have to have the mentality of you are the starter goalie, you're just currently not playing. So you have to be ready to jump in at any point. It's kind of like, I always thought of my position as like, yeah, sure, I'm the backup, but I have to act like I'm the starter goalie so that when it does come time, let's say the starter goalie is out for some reason, I do have one opportunity. I have to ride on that opportunity and like try and capitalize on it to show that I deserve to be on the field. And I think too, even my junior year, like this year, I wasn't starting going into the season, and I was able to get a starting position within a couple games. But my mentality was, I wasn't mad. Obviously you want to be starting. I wasn't pissed off I wasn't starting because that's not in my control. It was, all right, what do I do now? Okay, I have to train twice as hard as the starter. I have to have that mentality that I am going to be starting in a couple games. And I'm very goal oriented, so I made like small goals for myself. It was like, all right, you just need to take these initiatives to make these goals. And so to see myself like achieving those goals, that helped me have my own little small wins, even though I wasn't able to like contribute to the wins on the field in the games I wasn't playing. I was like, I'm still helping my team out in other ways. So I want to write off that. I think that was the biggest thing for me. I also think you just can never get discouraged because, I saw it my sophomore year, even my freshman year, how many goalies just get thrown into games. There are games this season, I didn't have my best game. They've tried 3 different goalies in game. It just shows that no position's ever set. So you always want to fight, for that starting position. And honestly, once I had that starting position, I never took my foot off the pedal because I was like, at any point, someone could take my starting position. So you always have to act like someone's on your back ready to take your spot. So you have to keep going.
Yeah. I love that. It's like, it's this classic sports quote of like, you got to train like you're number 2 and play like you're number 1. It's this really like weird mentality because like once you get into the game, like you're the boss, you're the king, like you're playing, with supreme confidence. And then when you get back into practice, it's like, hey, I got to work. Someone's on my heels, So it's kind of this interesting duality there.
Yeah, exactly.
You mentioned setting small goals, which is amazing. Like, I love that approach. If there's a young goalie listening, like, cool, what goals should I set? What were some examples of little small wins that you were able to achieve?
Yeah, I think, for me, I'm a very analytical person. So if you think about, I'd have goals. I set goals for myself for the whole season. these are team goals I want to these are team goals I want my team to get to, and I wrote out what initiatives I would take. So larger team goals is, win an ACC tournament, win a national championship. But obviously those are the end goals. So what are those mini goals to get to those? Game to game, I talk to my coach every single game. All right, what's my goal today? All right, I'm only going to let in 5 goals. I'm going to have over a 60% save average. I'm going to have a 95% clearing rate. I'm not going to have any turnovers, and I'm going to have 3 caused turnovers this game and 4 ground balls. Like, I was numbers like that. For some reason, for me, that helped a ton. But again, that's not going to be like for everyone. Other people, another goal of mine was I want to start by game 3. Started by game 3. So I was like, all right, I want to start by game 3 because I knew they're going to give the starter goalie a couple games to try and get into it. But I was like, I want to start by game 3. And then I wrote out, all right, what am I going to do to get that starting position? How am I going to be consistent? And I would write out, this is how you're going to work on your game to improve your consistency. They're looking for a starter goalie that's doing this. All right, how are you going to grow in that? So I think laying that out is really important for any goalie, any athlete, honestly, just to be goal oriented and have a really good idea of why you're showing up every single day and you're playing every single day. Because, especially at the college level, it's 4, 5, 6 hours a day. It's like a full-time job. It's like, why are you showing up every day? If you don't have a goal, what's the point? So that's just for me. Everyone's different, but that's my mindset, is having not only that growth mindset, but just being goal oriented throughout the process.
Yeah, I love that. Everyone is different. And when you make goals too, certain types of goals work well for one person and they might not work as well for another person.
Exactly.
For example, for me, if I made a goal of, let's say I want to give up, you said 5 goals a game, that would be amazing in the men's game. But let's say I want to give up 10 goals a game, right? And I give up 11. For me, I would feel like, oh man, but we win, right? But we win. But I give up 11. I'm like, I didn't hit my goal. So I'm much more when I make my goals, I like to say I'm going to work 30 hours, or I'm going to take 300 shots this week. That's my goal. It's more focused on the process than it is on the actual result. But I know for a lot of goalies, yourself included, that's very powerful. So there's different ways to do it, I think.
Yeah, I think too. And that's where I kind of hurt myself, because there are games. I'm not saying every game is a 5 goal. No, there are games. I look at the average of, all right, what are the goals for that how many goals is the other team putting up? Let's say their average is 14. All right, I'm going to shoot for 9 goals. I always try and keep it under their average by a couple goals. There have been games, not many, because I always sit with my coach before and I'm like, all right, what am I thinking? I was like, this is what I'm thinking. What are you thinking? He always tells me first what he's thinking. And I was like, all right, I was thinking this number. And it happened 3 times this season where I didn't reach my goal. But it wasn't anything, we'd still win the game or we wouldn't, but for me, I wouldn't harp on, oh, I didn't reach that goal, because for me, having those small goals during the game just pushes me to work as hard as I can during those 60 minutes. Whatever happens after the 60 minutes is out of my control. And then I have to focus on whatever the next game is after that. So I don't look at it as, all right, I'm going to set a number for myself. I don't reach it, it's the end of the world, because I used to do that. And that's where I hurt myself. But now it's all right, set it for the game. If you achieve it, great. If you don't, figure out what happened, learn from that experience, what you did wrong to not achieve it, and then carry that into the next game. Has just really helped me a lot.
Love it. Love it. What advice, knowing everything that you know now, what advice would you give the young Sophia LeRose?
Be a sponge. I think learn as much as you can. I think never lose sight of who you are as a player is really important. I think trying to capitalize on your strengths versus I think capitalizing on your strengths is most important. At the end of the day, I think what hurt myself is I had a lot of people trying to tell me different goalie techniques, and you want to figure out what works for you. So take a little bit of what each person says into your playbook and then grow those into your own player. I think I just struggled in the past playing like someone I wasn't, and I'm finally playing like myself, which is just the best feeling in the world. And I think lastly, just have fun, because goalie is such a mental game, but it's only a mental game if you really make it a mental game. So if you show up every day to practice and you're like, heck yes, I gotta be at practice, I gotta be with my teammates and play lacrosse with my best friends. Like we always joke on our team, my assistant coach is always like, oh, we're out here playing lacrosse with our best friends. Like you truly are. Like I'm playing lacrosse every single day, hanging out with my best friends, playing the sport I love. And I think if you have that mentality of just have fun, this is just a game, then I think any goalie will be successful.
Love it.
Mm-hmm.
Love it. I have some saves, some tape of a game that you played in. Could I share my screen and we can kind of talk through some of these saves?
Of course.
Yeah. Right. By the way, what do they call you on the team?
Yeah, just Soph.
Soph.
Usually Soph. Every once in a while, if my coach gets mad, it's Sophia. But usually it's just Soph.
Full name. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So this is a game, I guess, April 3rd. So kind of, mid-season, I guess, earlier mid-season against Boston College, who end up winning the national championship. And let's take a look at this first save.
Okay.
Started to see a little bit more of the field as of late. Here's North looking to isolate, whips it, and a save. LaRose rebound, tried, denied as well. Fight for the loose ball. LaRose knocked down.
Wow, awesome. Do you remember this game, by the way?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
I pretty much remember like every game. I remember the goals that went in and everything. That was definitely.
Yeah, talk us through this play if you could.
Yeah, so I think for me, it's kind of like, all right, what are you giving up? She's at the first hash. I know her as a shooter, so I knew I really had to hold my pipe and not move until I saw the shot released, because, Charlotte is a very, very talented player and she does release the ball from many different points. So I knew I had to hold as long as I could and keep my stick up. And then after that initial shot, I knew it was rebounding. So making sure I could set myself up and ready for that second shot was the second most important thing. So as soon as I saw that ball came out, like you see, I'm trying to set back up ready. I did, like, if you were to really break it down, not a clean save at all. Like I was kind of all over the place, but again, kind of at that point, instinctually just had to do whatever I could to save that ball. I think, as you would know, Damon, as a goalie, making that initial save and then letting in a second one, that a rebound, hurts. So, and that happened to me a couple times this season, and it sucks. It's not fun for anybody. So I remember that. It was a really great feeling. It was right at the beginning of the game. So it was really great feeling being able to bang out two saves back to back.
Yeah. I 100% agree. 100% agree about making that first save. Or even getting like a solid piece of your stick or your body on it and still having it go in. It's like, oh man.
Yeah,
like,
terrible. It's the worst. I think getting hit and then it going in is just the worst.
Yeah. Yeah. So then, you kind of brushed over it, but this is, Tewaaraton Award winner Charlotte North, who's got an absolute cannon, and kind of like, I don't know, maybe a surprise shot. I don't know. Like you don't expect a lot of girls to hit that shot, but she's certainly capable. And then bam, you mentioned earlier in our conversation about being very quick in the hands, but that's why I love so much about this save is it's, it's off stick, kind of at your shoulder, and you just get those hands over there and explode. And then, get back into position, because I mean, when you look at the breakdown of this film, like you're right in perfect position to make this second save.
Yeah. And again, like you can see it's kind of chaotic in there, but again, I'm not looking at my pipe. Like I knew exactly where I was in the cage too. I'm not crazy running around like fully outside the cage or anything. So yeah, I think, just knowing where I was in the cage also helped a ton in this instant.
Yeah. And then you get cross-checked right in the crease.
That happened to me quite a few times. That's how I blew out one of my shoulders, is I got decked from behind in one of my games and dislocated it. So,
yeah. Geez, bummer. I mean, so I don't know about you, but like if I would do a series like that, a double save and then get cross-checked and kind of fall down, like I would be like feeling really pumped. You got to be feeling pretty good right about now in this game, yeah?
Yeah, no, it was definitely good. And like, I think for me, I'm a very composed goalie. I was trying to tell the ref, I remember right there, like my helmet was all messed up. So I was like, can you just wait so I can fix my helmet? But she wouldn't. Um, but again, because I'm a composed goalie, I kind of stay very neutral throughout games. I really try not to, because if I say like five saves in a row, I don't want to be on my high horse thinking like, oh, I'm a great goalie and like I'm gonna be fine the rest of the game, because you're only going to hurt yourselves if you have that mentality. So, and it's the opposite too. If I'm in a hole, like there was one game against Louisville, I had a terrible first half, terrible. And I let in 6 goals. I had 1 save. And my coach was like, you need to flip a switch right now. And I think for me, I was never in my head that game until he screamed at me fully. And then I was like, all right, it's time to really flip a switch. It didn't faze me that he yelled at me. It was very well deserved, but I was still staying neutral that entire half. And then I flipped the switch the second half. I was like very neutral and was very successful. So I think in an instant like this, even though there were 2 great saves and it's great momentum for the team, I'm still staying very neutral throughout the entire game.
Got it.
Mhm.
Why do you wear number 0?
0 was a number I got in high school. It was either 0 or 50 was my number in high school. They just gave it to the goalies. So in high school, I picked 0. And then when I came in, it kind of just stuck because my last name's LaRose. And so then people started calling me O's, some of my friends, which is weird. Or they would say like 0 is my hero in high school. And I think 0 just stuck with me. And then when it came to picking a number for Duke, being a freshman, you don't really get a great number. You don't get like a good amount of numbers to choose from. So there were no numbers I really wanted. And I just texted Kirsha. I was like, can I be 0? Like, I don't see a 0 on your roster. And she's like, we've never had a player be 0 before, but I don't know why we couldn't. And so I picked 0 and I love my number. It's great.
Love it.
Yeah.
It's a great story. All right. So we are going to go to 55 seconds right here. Let's check out this play.
This is a really cool clip. I've watched it before. It's really cool. Thanks for putting this together.
Of course. Of course.
North sets everybody in motion back of the cage. Out for Courtney Weeks. Stutter step, drives toward the goal line in front. Bounce shot. Looked like it kind of just...
So she doesn't put a lot of mustard on the shot, but I wanted to talk about this play. First of all, the backside positioning is kind of interesting right here. Talk to me a little bit about this.
Yeah, I think, sorry, my Google Home's just like, sorry about that. My Google Home's been going off. Because I'm an athletic goalie, I wanted to be out a little bit more because I knew I'd be quick enough to, be set for a shot if it came. I was looking at that backside. I was ready to step out and, you can kind of see my hand placement on my stick. My left hand's actually at the complete bottom of my stick. So I'm ready to shoot my stick up and go for that interception if I need to. So that's where I was out, just because, again, I know Boston College is the type of college, like they're at school where they're going to dump balls over and they're going to try and feed in. And so I had to be ready for anything. And so for me, if I could step out like that and try and show like, hey, this isn't an option, they're not going to pass that. So that's the thought process right there.
Yeah, it cuts down this passing lane, right? Because there's so much space right here. And a lot of times, even me, like I would play this kind of right here, where I can kind of pivot to be over there. But
and usually I would say that looks like a little bit farther out than I usually would do, but it also depends on the game. And like, if they are really fast feeders, I would be closer in. If it's a slower feeder, then I'd be farther out.
Yep. So this is it's kind of an alley dodge, right? Yep. She's driving down the alley. And first of all, from a communication standpoint, like what are you telling this defender?
Yeah, from the communication standpoint, I'm saying keep her wide, keep her out, force her down. So I want to keep her down. I think that looks like it's Kat Berry right there. And she did her job perfectly because that's the shot I want. So I'm telling her, force her down, keep her, I want to keep her outside that pie chart as much as I can. So that's what I'm yelling at the defenders, because, if that were to go in, that's on me. That's not on the defender, because that's a save I should make. And I remember that one. She didn't put too much heat on it. She did try and like Twizzler it around. But I did get low with that one.
Yep.
But yeah, any alley shot, I'm just trying to keep them out wide.
Yep. Like push, force her down, because, like as soon, and you kind of see she starts to try and cut back towards the goal, which is what they're trying to do. And then of course, as a defense, that's exactly what we're not allowing them to do. And she plays great D. I mean, I think she ends up going in the crease, if I'm not mistaken here. So.
Oh yeah, you can see her fully in the crease.
Yeah. You can't get any
I don't
better.
believe they call it, of course.
Yeah. What about if she was going to shoot right there? It's always so interesting to me because she's so close. She's so close. It's like, at that point, we're just relying really on our positioning almost, and just trying to then read her body language and see where she's going to go. Because, when she's that close, we're talking 2 yards out, almost on the crease. Like, you don't really have much time to see it, right?
Yeah, I think you really have to pay attention to their shoulders and how they're holding their stick, because it's really hard to dump a ball low from that close, unless you're dropping your stick all the way down. It's really hard to pull all the way down, especially with a defender on you. So you have to think, okay, she's coming in, her hands are up, she's probably going to shoot high, especially with a defender on you. So I think that's my thought process with any shot, honestly. When they're really close in, I'm holding as much as I can, and then when they go to shoot it, I'm exploding, trying to get a piece on the ball. Because like you said, it's 2 yards away, so like your reaction time, like you have a split second to try and like see where that ball is going. Honestly, a lot of times you just have to assume it's going to go in a certain, you're tracking the ball quick enough where you can you're just trying to get to the spot before the ball gets there.
Yep. And then look at that great outlet pass. Like, every goalie should be able to throw a 25-yard outlet pass on the money, and even more if you can.
Oh yeah. No, I think at the collegiate level, I would say I could throw a 65, 70-yard ball like on the dime. After that, it's a little bit harder to, that's something I definitely need to improve on for my own game. If any goalie, you got to be able at the college level to throw over 50, consistently.
Yeah, love it. Let's take a look at this play right here.
North, will they clear out for her again? North, stutter step, the spin, draws the double. North feeds it middle, up top. Smith to fake the shot, save LaRose, rebound loose right in front of the crease. Battle for it, and LaRose has the trapper.
Love that. So here we are. We got, almost kind of a replay of that first one with Charlotte North on the wing there. And this time, like, you send the double. She passes it up top, which, by the way, that would probably be like a shot in the men's game right there. It's just so interesting, the different.
Oh, I know. I know. Like, it's so crazy, the difference. Yeah.
Yes. But anyway, she doesn't take the shot, runs in like 2 or 3 more yards, and then shoots it on the run. Nice save. Talk us through this play if you remember.
Yeah, no, I remember. I think honestly that one was like a little awkward because the shot kind of came out of nowhere in a way. I remember that being like, oh wow, she really just shot that through 3 people. So I wasn't really expecting her to see it, and you can see like there's 3 sticks in the way, so it's harder to track that ball. So for that one, I just tried to lunge my body. I can't tell if I got a stick on it on that one, but I did just try and lunge my body, and then I do remember there was a scruffle in the middle, and I just put my stick in and just raked it into my crease to try to get that. Didn't get called for it somehow.
Wait, are you not allowed to do that?
No. Unless the rules changed. They must have changed because I don't know how I didn't get called for it. But same thing. I was like, I'm not going to let Boston College get this ball back when I just got hit with the ball. So it's like, whatever I can do to get this ball into my stick, and managed to get it. But I think too, like the initial, like, you're looking at when Charlotte originally starts up with the ball, again, like you said, she's 2-award winner, and you have to expect anything from a player like her. And I think for me, I was ready for her to shoot through 3 of my players. before she passed it off because she tends to shoot through my players. So I really wanted to, again, like hold that position before she passed it over to Belle Smith, who shot that one.
Love it. Yeah, what I like about this play here too is, you know, if they are going to score, like the only way that they can do that is kind of like a garbage ice hockey type of shot. And you are like down there, like in a nice athletic position on one knee. I mean, there's no way, like, even if they got a, you know, a garbage goal type of shot, like you're there, you're an ice hockey goalie. You're just boom, blocking it.
Yep.
Right in front of the crease, battle for it, and LaRose has the trapper on it.
Beautiful defense by the.
Awesome. I think there's another save right after this. They do kind of a yeah, right here. So here we have an 8-meter shot and a free position shot. And I would love to hear, you know, how you approach these kind of shots.
Yeah. You know, I can't give everything away with my 8 meters.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
If that's fair, Damon. You know, I think in this instance, I kind of changed up how I did 8 meters in the second half of the season, so I can speak on what I did here in this game. But for this game, first thing I do, you know, I think no matter what, I personally, every goal is different. You could be, well, it doesn't apply to you because you don't have 8 meters, but, you know, for me, I rather my defenders throw the attackers on the 8 meter than a shot right on top of me on the crease. Because then I'm more prepared for it and they have to set back up. So the first thing I'm doing is I'm telling Kay, who's posted up behind the BC defender, I'm like, hey, break for the ball, because I'm expecting to save this ball. I'm either gonna save it or it's gonna be a goal. So if I can save it and get that first outlet pass, it's great. So that's my first thought, is telling the defender, hey, get ready to break. So honestly, half the time you'll see they won't even line up to go for the check. They're ready to break. That's first thing. I think two, I see where I am on my line and I focus, all right, I'm on the second hash. What am I giving up here? And, you know, I'm stick side on the right. This girl's a righty. She's going to try and draw me across probably, and then dump it back off stick side. So that's going through my head of kind of quickly. And I'm not trying to fluster myself, but trying to figure out what her game plan is. It just depends on the person. You know, I scout every team I play, every attacker, I'm scouting them, so I know kind of what their tendencies are. I don't remember this exact one actually, but, you know, if it's a player where they typically are, you know, especially on a second or hash, they're running in and they're tucking and then bouncing it low, like I'm ready for that and I'm anticipating that. So it really just depends on how I've studied the players and based off of like what their tendencies are. That's kind of like where I also think for 8 meters.
Awesome. Let's watch this one.
Midget. Bounce shot, save LaRose. Rebound though, gobbled.
Yeah, great save.
Thank you. And like in that instance, I was like, all right, almost ready to go for that ground ball. Because I am willing and comfortable to run out if I have to. But I also, you know, I knew in that instance, even though I was going, I wasn't going to win and get that ball.
Yeah, that's a great point. Great kind of learning tool is, I mean, you can go for it, but at a certain point, like, you know, it becomes too much of a risk. Like you could keep fighting it but then, you know, they scoop it up and now you're now you're 10 yards out of the goal and there's 2 wide open Boston College girls right here. And that would almost certainly be a goal. So.
Exactly. And I think you either commit or you don't commit. And in that instance, I was committing for a second and then I was like, nope, I got to go back in. Because I knew I wasn't going to get it.
Yeah.
Got a little ahead of myself.
Next one is at 3:15. Let's check this one out right here.
For Courtney Weeks. Weeks drives in middle, fires, shoulder save LaRose. Oh, it almost popped in behind her, and she was able to find it in midair and come up with the save.
Big save by LaRose. I like what Weeks did here. Said, hey.
Great save right there. Great save.
Thank you. No, I'm kind of shaking my head a little bit because it's like I remember that one perfectly. And like you can see where's like no one's going to, it took a minute for my defenders process who had the ball. So there was definitely like a little lack of communication who was going to go to the ball there because we were believe we were man down too in this instance. Yeah, it looks like we were
Yep.
man down.
Yep.
So obviously, like, I'm communicating and pushing girls in and out, but it is tough when, okay, now she's barely getting touched. She's still in, now she's 2 yards out. And there's 3 sticks in the way. And I was able to track that ball well, but again, it's that awareness piece. I know I didn't have it in my stick, so it's like, all right, where's the ball next? And something I've been working on a lot is being able to track that ball and where it should be going after. So it was great. That ball was about to go in the cage.
It was
If
going
I
in.
didn't catch
It
that,
was
going
definitely
in.
going in. Yeah.
It was going in. So thankfully I was able to get it. Did not feel good on my shoulder. That's for sure. I've had a couple shoulder dings in the season. Did not feel good. So you could see him rubbing it out after, but
Yeah. I didn't know if you were celebrating the save or
oh,
or
definitely
shaking
not.
it
I
out a
don't
little bit.
celebrate saves. I internally do, but I don't show that on TV.
Yeah. The other thing I was going to mention, so it's such an, like, talking about reading them, she comes in, and by the way, this is another scenario where in the men's game, like, they would shoot it right there because
Right, of course.
it's so physical. Like, you can't drive in there. You would get knocked on your butt. Anyway, so she drives in, she does like a face dodge right here, like, face dodge. And like, as a goalie, like, if she's going to shoot, she's got to bring it back.
Pull back.
Yeah. And so you're sort of looking for ultimately anticipating the release point to come out here, and it eventually does. And she shoots it, and boom, you get that arm, or I don't know if it ends up hitting you in the shoulder, but get some body on it. And then it's about ready to bounces straight up, but like at an angle back towards the goal, and you snag it out of the air. Great.
Yeah, and I think, in that instance, especially when it's so close, like, I did misread it a little bit and I went under versus going over. And so I had to punt, like, get my shoulder up there to try and get a piece on it. So you could see me bump my shoulder up just because, again, I knew I did misread it where I should have just gone over and across versus under.
Yeah, that's a good learning point for the young
Mm-hmm.
goalies. It's like, the correct, we don't always make the correct movement, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the correct movement would have just been move your top hand over here.
Exactly.
But it's so hard. Like, it's so hard to, in the heat of the moment, you're man down. It's hard to make the right save movement every time, but then we do what we can. And I love that explosion right there. I mean, that explosion with this backside right here, to me, is the save, right? Because you get your body over there,
Exactly.
and make the save. Man, it looks like it hit you in the bicep. That's a pretty rough spot to roll.
Yeah, that one didn't feel good. I remember that.
Yeah. Well, thank you. That was awesome. Thanks for taking us behind the scene.
Thanks for putting that together.
Yeah, I love watching lacrosse. So doing those save edits has been a little pet project of mine, and it's been tons of fun. Sophia, this has been wonderful. Thank you for taking the time on a Sunday of all days to talk lacrosse and kind of share some of your story and your knowledge for all the young goalies out there. Tremendous stuff. Wish you nothing but the best of luck in this upcoming season. We'll be watching.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's been a great time. And for all you young goalies out there, good luck. Just enjoy it and have so much fun.
Awesome. If people want to get a hold of you, do you do the Instagram?
Yes, you can go on Instagram and message me. I'm happy to help where I can. I do get requests all the time, so sorry if it takes a minute to get to you, but I'm happy to help and make time for you. And feel free to ask me any questions. No question's a stupid question, so ask away.
Love it. Sophia, thank you so much.
Thank you.